everybody. Welcome to Turning Point CT's first ever podcast.
Woohoo!
That's great. So we got a group of people here that are involved with turningpointct.org, the awesome website by and for young people in Connecticut. And we are going to have a discussion among peers around a controversial topic, which is whether marijuana should be legalized for recreational purposes.
They don't.
So first, who is here today?
Allie is here today.
Ray is here.
Kevin.
Lauren.
And Sydney.
All right, and I'm Margaret. I'm moderating.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right into it by first finding out where everyone in the room stands. So, okay. Marijuana is already legal for medical purposes in Connecticut. I believe there are 9 states that have legalized it for recreational purposes, which means, how many is it?
7.
7? Okay.
Including the District of Columbia.
Which means that, thanks Kevin, which means that you can use it for any purpose. It's just, available for purchase. So first off, what do you think? Should we legalize it for recreational purposes? How many say yes?
I say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely say yes.
I have a mixed opinion.
That's how I
just because I feel like a lot of people are using it, so in that sense, but I think I don't really know how I feel about it. Like, I think I want to see how it goes first.
Okay. Kevin, you didn't weigh in?
Yeah, I support this testing approach. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I'm for medical marijuana. Yeah.
Well, for medical, but we're talking about recreational.
And recreational. To a certain extent.
I feel like you have to put in more regulations and definitely do a lot more testing on the effects, like the long-term effects, before we come to a conclusion for the entire country. But I think eventually, I support legalizing recreational marijuana.
Okay. And Allie, you didn't weigh in.
I don't support the legalization of marijuana for recreational.
Why not?
For a bunch of reasons. One of them being that there isn't enough data for that. There's not enough long term. Number 2 is because even if you have an age limit on it, say the age limit is 18 or 21, your brain's still not fully developed at that point, so then you're still hurting, your ability to have your brain process properly, so all the physical aspects of it. And I think it'll also influence teens to have them think that it's okay to do it because it's legal, and just kind of how people view alcohol. I also think that there'll be more car accidents because of driving under the influence, and people will just continue to do it more because it's legal and try to fight that. And marijuana can definitely, just as alcohol can be a gateway to doing more drugs as well, and a bunch of more reasons. But I'll go on forever.
Yeah, that was serious. I see. That's what kind of puts me on the fence too, because I definitely agree with you. But then again, when you do compare it to alcohol, if alcohol is legal, why wouldn't marijuana be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like if it's the same thing, if it is a gateway with that argument, it's kind of like, so are cigarettes. You know what I mean? You're smoking, period. Hookah, everything. So, I love hookah. So, yeah, so I don't know. This is such a tough thing to think about. And then I do think about, the young adults or the kids who feel just because it's legal, they have to do it. But that's with anything. Whatever is legal or not legal, people are going to do what they want to do. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. But no, that's just me.
There's also an economic side to it. It would benefit us to a great deal because then we'll have new businesses. So
new revenue.
However, the problem with that is that if you're getting it from a dispensary, they're probably going to put a tax on it. I think Colorado has a tax because to make state revenue.
Yeah.
But then you have people that want to avoid the tax are still going to buy from drug dealers, and you don't know what that is laced with.
And regulation can be costly too, as well as bureaucratic. It can be very difficult to really administer something like this. and we're really not sure who's going to be using it and for what reasons. So
True.
there is going to be a lot of challenges getting it regulated.
Yeah.
Well, what kinds of regulations are you thinking there would be if it
For
became-
example, taxes or the age limit, stuff like that.
And like
keeping it
standards
checked.
of safety, like regulating like the dosage of THC and stuff,
Hmm.
which I think is really important.
Absolutely,
if we do decide
absolutely,
to legalize it. So
absolutely.
like making consumers completely aware of like how much they're ingesting. But like one of the big problems we have right now, I think, with like the dispensaries is since it's still like federally illegal, like they have to do all of their business with banks and cash, which makes it really dangerous for people to be working like between those two.
Yeah. I didn't think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I did not at all.
It sounded like, I thought you were saying federally legal, but you were saying federally
Illegal, yeah.
Which is one of those big issues.
Yeah,
It's, it's not okay at the federal level, even for medical
Yeah,
purposes.
yeah.
And yet in the states it is, in some of the states.
What's kind of interesting though is like so far all the states that have legalized it through like a popular vote, and I think Vermont right now is the first state that's considering like legalizing it through the legislative
In
system.
Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah, which would be really interesting because it's pretty hard, I think, to like go back and like remove a law that's been like put in place by
Yes,
popular
yeah.
vote, and so it'd be interesting to see how that differs for states that legalize it legislatively.
Pretty hard to put it through, to change
Yeah,
laws
but it's
any,
Vermont.
either way.
Either way, yeah.
But, so you were living in Vermont, or were you there when any of that
No.
happened?
I think that's just starting.
Okay.
So I don't really know like as much about it, but I mean, at least in my experience, like from being like a young adult in Vermont, like it is smoked like pretty widely through like the young adult population.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing.
So I'm not surprised that. Well, I would say it's probably worse in Vermont, but I'm not surprised that it's something they're considering to do through the legislative system.
So you guys have identified a bunch of the issues that are related to this, like what would be the age limits, what's, because there is an impact on brain development. Allie, you mentioned car accidents, but then Kevin brought up the revenue side. So there are a lot of different arguments for pro and con. If Connecticut were going to legalize this for recreational purposes, what age do you think would be an appropriate age?
25.
25 when you're an adult.
25.
I
What?
think
Wait, Allie said 25. Kevin, what
We
did you
could start
say?
with 25. It's I mean, that's where the brain is developed, isn't that right?
But you're allowed to drink
We can
alcohol.
make
That's
better
what I'm saying.
And I
judgments.
think we should
21.
raise up
Same-
alcohol too.
Yeah,
while
but I
we're
think
at it.
since alcohol is still at 21, it should be probably around
They're around the same age. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is new, I mean, we don't know the repercussions. We don't
True.
know what it's going to be. We don't want to have someone in college doing marijuana simply because they can do it. We want to have something for more mature adults, people who can have better judgment, can make better decisions about their lives. So we sort of want to have a testing approach to it, and starting out at 25 will probably be a good choice to make.
I mean, I guess, again, so I feel like most of my decision about, legalizing it for recreational use kind of just comes from, I guess, just living in the urban community. Everyone smokes it. Even when I went to a predominantly white high school, everyone was doing it and more. You know what I mean? So I haven't seen it have a really bad effect on people, just besides the fact that they get the munchies or they sleep in often. You know what I mean? I haven't seen it do anything, have an adverse effect yet. But then again, when you do get those batches that are laced, you kind of run that risk.
But that's one of the good things about legalizing it, because
You can control it, exactly, for the most part. Because even with
And that's where
controlling everything
regulations
else,
come in.
People are
still gonna find it no
Otherwise.
matter what. And that's just something that that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
It's a good. Is it really?
And I think you have to
Really
take into
interesting.
consideration about law enforcement.
Mhm.
I feel like they're going to have a really hard time because that's just more patrolling they have to do. That's more monitoring they have to do because just like I'm sure it was with alcohol, they were in over their heads,
Yeah.
when that was legal. And I think also maybe crime rate could possibly increase because if you have people that, you already have people that are selling narcotics and jumping on that board, but then if you have people like dealers that are selling marijuana, now you're taking that business from them, then it makes it, that's at the end of the day, that's a business to them, and then it makes it more difficult. So I always wonder, like, what if, if a dealer that sells marijuana, if they will progress to selling a different drug, or if they'll possibly go to a different crime instead in order to make money. I can't help but like think about stuff like that too, because at the end of the day, you're taking away their ability to make money.
Piggybacking on the effect on law enforcement, I think one of the big problems we have to deal with is we don't have anything like a breathalyzer for marijuana. Right. So you get pulled over. They do. I heard about like the mouth swab.
Okay. That they're doing
but
now.
At least what I've seen is like it just tests whether you've had it recently, and I think we need something like a breathalyzer where it'll tell like how much you
can. But can you even do that? I don't even think that's possible.
But like if someone smoked marijuana earlier in the day, like how are you going to be able to tell like if that person's like
eyes? Yeah, you're right.
I guess the field sobriety test, but even those can sometimes be really inaccurate.
Yeah, and I think you probably have to come up with like a different one for marijuana because the effects are different than alcohol.
Absolutely.
Right? You know?
And then another thing too with legalizing it. What about all those petty crimes that people are in jail now for having like possession and whatever. What is it? Possession and intent to sell.
What happens?
What happens to that? We need to reform.
Yeah. So what happens
with that?
A lot of
that was decriminalized a while back already.
So it's just
I can't help but wonder if some people that are currently sitting in jail will end up trying to
appeal, right?
Yeah.
That charge. And then when you said about the the whole the drug dealers the crime rate going up and drug dealers finding something else to sell, I feel like people are still going to sell marijuana regardless if it's legal or not. Someone's always looking for something different, if that makes sense. In Cali, you could go to a dispensary, they have all types of strains, all this type of stuff, but for some reason people are still going to go to their friend that's selling it, and they probably
tax-free.
Exactly. So, and then with the crime rate, I don't know. I just don't see that happening. Well, personally, everyone that I know who smokes marijuana, they're just way more chill. I don't see them, I don't know, maybe robbing a bank or anything. Maybe, driving under the influence. I could definitely see that because they do that now. And that's definitely an issue that we would have to fix. But again, people do it under alcohol. People do it on prescription drugs. Moms have their wine and pick up their kids from school. So it's like, either way.
It sounds like you guys are saying that, or a couple people are saying like, well, maybe if we did this as sort of a testing approach, started off and see how it goes. But then you're talking about how everyone's already smoking and everyone already has access.
It's already a test,
so isn't there a test already essentially in place? Kevin, you said you thought 25 would be a good age because the brain is mostly developed by then. So if someone has a developing brain, if someone's under 25 and they're using marijuana, what do you guys see as the actual issues with that, if there are any?
The IQ levels. Yeah, because I remember learning that if someone smokes marijuana under the age of 24, they lose their IQ and it won't come back.
Yeah. But isn't that for a period of time?
Yeah.
But I think they were saying like I think I know what you're talking about. I was reading about this earlier. Is like if you start smoking around the age of 14, like even if you quit as an adult, if you smoke for long enough, it drops like 8 points and you can't get it back no matter what.
That's right. What about any other information? Like what else happens? Do you guys actually think marijuana is addictive?
Yes. Can be.
I think the feeling's addictive. I don't think it's
there
like,
you go.
I think like with nicotine, like that's like the chemical is addictive versus you're like I think you're looking at a different type of addiction for like
the feeling.
It can be overused.
Yep. I definitely feel like, and then again, like a lot of people, I feel like they smoke for different reasons. Whether it be therapeutic, whether it be to soothe the pain, or to socialize. So but the socializing is, I think, what
most young adults are doing,
and that's exactly it. When people are bored, you're either gonna drink or smoke.
I mean, we really don't want to enable smoking because smoking in itself is a bad thing. So if people know that they can smoke legally, they're definitely going to do it, and that has medical effects. So that's a real concern there.
I mean, everything has a medical effect if you look at it essentially, right? If you think about it, if you do anything long enough, you could play a sport long enough, and you can mess up your knee. I'm just
look at football.
Yeah,
you get those concussions.
Yeah, and everything has a risk, whether it's legal or not. It's just I just feel like it's up to the individual.
Allie, when I asked if you guys think marijuana is addictive, a couple you said, I think the feeling is, but it's different. But Ellie, you started to say something else, I think.
Yeah, and the reason I touch on that addictive is because I'm an addict. So I look at that as even more of a concern of it being a behavior, or a feeling as an addiction. Yes, of course, physically, just like as it is with narcotics and things like that, there's a physical dependency on it. But I think having that addiction to the euphoria and the feelings that come with it is almost worse than that physical dependency, because now you're making it where this thing is what I use to cope, this thing is what I use to socialize, this thing is what I use to go about my day or be productive or whatever thing you're filling it to be. I think it kind of makes it harder because people shouldn't have to abuse something in order to have it, and it's one thing, I understand medications and whatnot. That's why I think there's a huge difference between the medical versus the recreational, because just like with drinking and just like with high schoolers and young adults, if you have to tell them, hey, to socialize you have to have a drink or smoke a blunt in order to have fun and able to get along, I think that's kind of concerning, and that shows not much prevention efforts as far as having them wait to be able to be an adult, make that decision of whether they'll do it or not. And when you associate a drug with coping or whatever it may be, that's a little alarming and concerning. And plus, almost every addict, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but most addicts, they don't start with, they didn't start abusing narcotics with narcotics. It always started with something else, whether it was alcohol or marijuana. I, for instance, would have never gotten comfortable with prescription pills or heroin or Molly or any of those other drugs had it not been if I didn't get comfortable in smoking marijuana. And I know if it was legal, I would have been able to obtain it a lot easier than it being illegal. Just like alcohol was difficult for me to get because there was a certain age limit, but it was still pretty easy because it's in the home. It's in a lot of people's homes, where if it's being replaced with a blunt instead of a bottle, then it's going to be easier. And then my concern is also for little kids that get curious and say, what is this? That's why they always teach parents, put your alcohol in high places, watch your kids, things like that. But we all know things happen, so if you do have a kid that's thinking and what is this, just like, okay, yeah, cigarettes might be illegal, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing. It doesn't mean it's good for you. So just because something's legal doesn't mean it's good for you. And I think the church community would have a really hard time with it too. So I think
have a hard time with everything.
Yeah,
so
I mean, that's a challenge we're having now. That's why it's not legal.
Yeah, it's just, I just feel like everyone has their opinion about it, and I just feel like it comes from a lot. I feel like our perspectives come from, again, how we grew up, who we've been around, what we've seen, what we've experienced, and even if you've tried it, So
I mean, it's legal in Uruguay. They're doing well.
Yeah, so all different places we've seen different things. So Connecticut, it could be exactly
it's I know people that use it for anxiety, and that could be a dependency, which that might be a bad thing. But then there's a lot of people who use it socially. So I think it depends on who you are.
Yep.
And by legalizing it, you're opening the door to everyone, not like the one thing with having medical marijuana is that it paid attention to what you were dealing with, versus this is opening it to everyone, and that's going to cause problems no matter how you divide it.
Well, you just mentioned that could cause problems, and we've seen examples of what's happened in states that went from not having even medical marijuana, including Connecticut, to having it. So Ray, a minute ago you were just saying everyone's basing it on their own experiences. Yeah. So now I want to ask you to think about what has really caught your eye as you've read discussions or heard people talking about this after Colorado legalized it and stuff? Have you heard any information that makes you question your own assumptions?
Absolutely. I remember having a conversation with you, the increased, car accidents and things like that. That actually really...
In Colorado.
Yeah, in Colorado, yeah. That really kind of stuck with me. And, of course, the lowering of the IQ. That literally blew my mind because I'm so used to seeing it that to me, it's normal. People smoking marijuana, even though it's illegal, it's everywhere. So I never even thought twice about, how that could impair your judgment and things like that, because at the end of the day, it is a drug. So...
Do you think that people are just going to mind your own business when it comes to smoking marijuana? Nobody's going to really care that it's legal or not. It's just going to be the same culture as it is right now. It's just that people who are already smoking are going to keep smoking.
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
who are not smoking are not going to be smoking, that kind of thing. So is the culture really going to change? Do you think it's going to be
good
a
question.
bigger issue, or it's just going to be how it is right now?
I think there's going to be an increase because like the people that are too afraid to like
Smoke
break the
it.
law
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
like go to a drug dealer to get it, they're going to be curious. So it's going to be like it's legal now, so it must be okay for me. So it's going to be an increase.
And the trend has been in the states once they legalized even just medical marijuana, like Colorado. The trend was that all of a sudden there was a lot more marijuana available in middle school and high school, even when you were supposed to have a medical reason for it.
Yeah.
So it just did get out there more,
Yeah.
and people used it more for, I think, the reason
Yeah.
you're saying. It doesn't seem anymore
Yeah.
Not bad.
like it's
I think one of the
off limits.
problems with medical marijuana though is I think, or at least like this is what I've heard from talking to people who've been using medical marijuana, is that some people just, if they have the right doctor, they can go and say I have back pain, and their
Yep.
doctor will write
Give
them
it to
a
them,
thing,
yep.
and that's a problem because you're not using it for a legitimate medical reason.
I agree.
That's basically just recreational.
Exactly. So it's kind of the same exact thing.
That's the
Same
problem
exact
with the
thing.
doctors, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Lazy.
But then everybody, if being legal makes everybody think they're their own doctor and they can make their own decisions, and I just don't think anybody, no matter what age you are, really always makes the best decisions for themselves. Then you get the drug mixed in it. It's even
But if
worse.
you can't make your own decisions, who are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to make your own decisions at
Yeah.
some point. You decided to put whatever the blunt to your mouth or smoke the marijuana. That's up to you. And at the end of the day, I feel like
At 25.
that's what. At 25, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I feel like it's just a decision.
There's some evidence that the brain keeps really doing a major amount of development up until age 28 or maybe even 29. So
wow.
with that argument, would you support a legalization
30.
age of 30?
People are still going to use it when they're younger. I think making it higher, you're going to have more people using it versus like the person that's 18, they haven't tried marijuana. They're like, okay, it's three years. I can wait 3 years.
Yeah.
Versus like if it's 30 and you're 18, all your friends are smoking, and you might be like, okay, well if they're smoking, it's another like 10 years. Like why don't I just try now? I don't know.
Sure.
It's just moderation. 25 is, a good age. It's a time when you get your own car, your own apartment. Well, some people get their cars earlier. But
Yeah, or at 16.
I mean, you have your own apartment, you start your family. It's
It's like a
about
turning point
moderation.
age. Yeah. Okay.
So,
I can see that.
yeah. We could probably start there. We'll get somewhere else. If it's that a lot of young people are not smoking and it's not becoming a huge issue, especially in schools and colleges, then
Yeah.
we could probably, lower the age.
I also then wonder, since you said start a family, obviously alcohol has that disclaimer on it saying, not for consumption while pregnant. I always
Say the
wonder,
same
are they
thing.
going to do the same thing about, women that are
Have
pregnant?
there? I mean, I haven't really looked into it, but have there been any
Yeah.
real effects of?
It definitely lowers like the weight of babies at birth. That's and I think there are some effects on like brain development, but I haven't looked into a lot other
Right.
than that.
There might not be a lot of research because like it's only been legal a few years in a few states.
Some
Yeah.
people have still been doing like research on marijuana
Yeah.
use for a really long time. But one of the problems with that is like since it's only becoming legal now, like the data like that they can collect now and the research that they collect now is like a lot better. So I don't know if like all of the things that we've been taught and like the statistics are gonna like remain true, or are they
Yeah.
gonna be better, are they gonna be worse? Like we have to wait and see.
Yeah, you're right. This also makes me think about all the college students who are stressing and especially the college athletes, because I have seen a lot of athletes get kicked out of school for marijuana. Literally just probably, especially I think they have like, some of them have like a no tolerance rule. So
Yeah.
after your first strike, you're out. But I have seen them keep repeating it, this same process, like 2 to 3 times. So that, I don't know if it's just being silly or is it really just I need it, or you know what I mean. So that makes me think about it too. And then again with the NFL, they ban it, but they're also talking about because too many people are smoking it and getting fined. At what point do you just throw the towel in and say okay,
You might as well.
Yeah.
Like the one thing benefit of legalizing it is that you have the regulations in place and you can monitor a select like group of people.
Yeah.
Versus if you're not monitoring anyone. There's
Exactly.
no regulations right now. So.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's cool.
So if they do legalize it, is there a limit on how much we can actually use, or does it mean that we use any amount we want?
I mean, I feel like you can get limited if you go to a dispensary or something because they can only give you but so much. But again, it's accessible. You can get it from anywhere if you really want to.
So I think if it does become legal, it's going to be like alcohol. Like you got the whole liquor store, but that's up to you on
how much you want to buy.
Right.
Because you can walk out with
you are when you're buying it.
Exactly.
Because they won't sell it to you if you're noticeably intoxicated.
So if you're noticeably too,
Regulations
but then what about those people who have smoked so much that they don't really get those symptoms anymore?
That's
you
true.
know, they don't have the red eyes, they
their
don't
tolerance,
tolerance level,
and that's when I think it gets dangerous. The tolerance, that's when I feel like you start to segue and kind of start to go into the narcotics and things like that. You start to look for something else. So that's another conversation because how do you manage that when you tell someone, all right,
like
enough is enough. You've reached your capacity, so
take a break.
Yeah, can't, right?
And I guess that concerns me from working, working towards my goal of working in the substance abuse counseling field. Just seeing how hard it is now to get people that are dependent on narcotics, opioids at that, to get them into a bed for rehab is hard enough, and that's immediate needs that need to be met, and high risk. I wonder. I'm a little concerned, even though I want to see the business, that business continue of helping people. I'm concerned to see more and more beds being taken for marijuana use when, that rather than not having that, I'd rather see the beds for immediate needs. Not saying that I wouldn't want to treat someone with a marijuana dependency, but having it legal is opening up doors for people to use it more, which opens up more for doors of abuse to lead to, which leads to more beds needing taken that are already hard enough to get open.
Really, really good point. So
I don't know. I guess it ranges.
And wow, to kind of play devil's advocate, even though I'm totally supporting recreational use, what about those people who smoke and it kind of brings something out of them that they never knew? Like I had a friend who had an accident in college. He was smoking. I'm not sure. It could have been laced or whatever. But he actually found out that he was schizophrenic. He had a really bad attack. And that was the fourth person that I know who smoked marijuana and ended up finding out that they had some type of mental health.
I was reading something on that earlier. Like, I guess that it just... Like, if you're prone to something already, it increases I want to say the numbers, like, double. Like, it doubles the likelihood that, like, you'll, start experiencing, like, problems associated with whatever, like, disorder you're prone to more.
Yeah,
wow.
I think the way you said it is
perfect.
Good, because it's not so much necessarily like he found out he had it.
It's not creating the schizophrenia.
Known increase. You increase the risk of developing schizophrenia if you smoke as a teen.
And that's been
and the more you smoke, the more your chances of developing schizophrenia.
Wow.
And since most people with substance abuse disorders, they also it's usually co-occurring. So that concerns me as well, because you're trying to immediately jump on a medication or a substance to cope with your mental health disorder, rather than trying to look into some other alternative ways to help that before getting into medication. Like, I know even for me, when I went into a doctor and told them that I have an opioid abuse problem, they said, okay, well, let's put you on Vivitrol, Suboxone, or methadone. And I tried all that, and that none of them worked for me, and some of it caused more harm. So, and that was just for me where it wasn't until I actually found complete opposite recovery resources other than, and not including medication, that's when I really found that recovery. So then, I'm concerned that people will just jump right to that instead of at least trying some other alternatives.
Wow.
Were you trying to say something, Kevin?
Well, I mean, I've had a personal experience with marijuana growing up, because my father smoked marijuana. I grew up around the smell from a very young age. So there is that, and it probably drives a little fear through me in the sense that he probably used it too much because he's always sick. He always had the regular cold. So, that was a huge issue, especially in our family, and then he moved to drinking alcohol, and that became a problem. So I can kind of see the linkage between these drugs. You know, I don't know if it's a safe thing, who's going to be practicing it, and, you know, how bad of an issue it's going to become once it's legal.
Yeah.
You know, I think moderation is really important in whatever way we can moderate it. I think that would be amazing. Yeah.
I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think that
Sure.
brings us back to what we were saying in the very beginning. Like, the
Yeah.
key before legalization is, like, fully examining the
Yeah.
full-term, like, long-term effects.
I think
and stuff.
the approach Connecticut is sort of taking right now is they're sort of watching Massachusetts to see what they're doing, you know, how it's going to play out after 2018, because I think that's when stores are going to begin to open once they legalize it. There, so I think they're sort of getting ideas from them to see how it's working there, you know, and how it's going to eventually play out. Whether or not it's going to have an impact, that's, you know, not what you'd say.
Well, I mean, last year and this year, the Connecticut legislature were seriously discussing legalizing it right away because we need the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the discussion was around we need revenue from any sources we can get it.
Whichever way.
So you know, it didn't pass, and that gives. It didn't pass last year. It could still pass this year. It's
Is that
very
revenue
unlikely.
through taxes?
What's that?
Revenue through taxes, right?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the main source of income, because once you legalize marijuana, I guess everybody's going to be selling it. That percents the prices down.
People
right?
can grow it. People can
Yeah.
sell
Sell
it.
it,
You can
yeah.
tax it. So
Wow.
it's unlikely to pass this year.
Mhm.
The way the country's going, it seems
Yeah.
like, you know, many
People
states
are
are
still
going
a
to do
little
it for, I
shaky,
think,
yeah.
some of the reasons you identified. I was trying to think about everything you guys have been talking about. It seems like you've identified as pros for legalizing marijuana, that, you know, it does bring in money. It recognizes the fact that people are using it anyway, so maybe it gives you opportunities to monitor it and monitor quality or test for it, and just manage the process. And then the cons you guys identified included that it's bad for the developing brain. Maybe you get more of it out there to younger populations. You sort of stop people waiting or being afraid or being timid about trying it. The gateway effect, that you may start using more of other drugs. Increases in car accidents. Although I will say, I've talked to teens who think that they've literally said, I think it would enhance my driving.
Yeah,
Oh, I heard a lot,
Yeah,
actually.
me too.
So, in case anyone's wondering about that, it doesn't.
So,
And then Allie, you were talking about the burden on law enforcement and on the substance use treatment system. So I think this has been an amazing discussion, but a lot of you said the issue is however it's done would have to be in moderation. So as a final statement, does anyone or a couple of you guys want to say, if you were going to pass a law you don't have to, legalize recreational marijuana, what would you put in place to try to manage that?
Well, I think first you maybe keep a log of who comes in, who's coming out, and kind of almost keep track of what they're getting, or how many ounces, and kind of I mean, that's a start.
Yeah.
To kind of figure out if you're coming every 2 days and you know what I mean, and you're getting an eighth or something like that, then we should have a conversation. So it's just, I don't know, maybe that's the start to just
definitely like limiting the amount people can buy,
Yeah.
and quality control, like making sure it's not laced with anything.
Exactly.
Like, making like exactly the level of THC. Like, people need to be like fully aware of what they're consuming. I feel like
labels.
yeah.
And
Labels,
like
yes.
put risks on there, like
Oh yes.
Like
if
Holmes, like smoking
mental,
packet.
Yes.
like, it causes like mental development, hinders that, and, like,
Yep.
pregnancy. Like, you should put those risks on every package.
Yep. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, just like tobacco smoking. So 25 years of age, that's the age limit. Only 30 ounces a day. We probably could have permit cards where we keep a check based on your register.
Right.
Did you say 30 ounces a day?
30 ounces. Is that too much?
That's a lot.
No more.
30 ounces, they're not coming back for a long time.
Sorry. You're up in the Caribbean.
He meant
it's a different
3.
Culture.
He meant 3. 1.
All right, 3 ounces.
It's all good.
Talking about the backup on the treatment.
We know what he meant. He's
We
from.
know what you meant.
By the
Anything
way, he's
else?
from Jamaica.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Any other final comments?
No.
All right.
All right. Awesome, you guys. So, so the last thing is, if you want to discuss this topic anymore, get on the forum and we can keep talking about this. This discussion is not going away anytime soon in our state or other states. So
That's right.
tune in next time.
Oh yeah, Turning Point CT. Gotta go. Bye.